What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox. And tonight in the BrewLab, we continue with spoiler season, day 3. We got some sweet ones today, but it's a weekend. On Saturdays they do a little bit less. And it starts off with a really good one. We knew this line of text was coming somewhere in the cards because of Maro's little blog post teasers. Zombies you control have flying, and it's a wizard, which it's the same as Jadar. It's the same as the other Stitcher that we got, the Puppet Stitcher. So there's all these like human wizards that like are synergizing with the zombie tribe, and I'm all for that. I'm going to make my zombie wizards deck, I think, a lot better by including at least 2 copies of Geralf. Not only is it giving all your decayed zombies flying, which is insane, especially if you've also been able to flip Puppet Stitcher into the the Puppet Factory or whatever, then all your zombies would be 3/3s with flying. That in and of itself is pretty insane, but also it's got a nice like big booty 1/4, so it's not super removable from like red, and green fight spells. So, and then you can pay 1 blue, tap it, and you can do this at instant speed and sacrifice another non-token creature. So let's say your opponent is targeting your Jadar or your whatever other important non-token, and you've got, let's say, your Champion of the Perished on the battlefield. You can, let's say, save the creature he's targeting, your opponent, by paying 1 blue, tapping Geralf, and then you make. So in the example with Jadar, unfortunately Jadar is only a 1/1, I believe. So you create an XX blue zombie creature token where X is the sacrifice creature's toughness, so it'll only come out as a 1/1 zombie. But that's gonna proc your Champion of the Perished, or if they target your Champion of the Perished, because you've finally grown him into this huge zombie, they are very incentivized to remove. You can, for 1 mana, essentially save it, because it'll come back as again huge. Let's say you've got a 10/10 Champion of the Perished. They remove it. Even no, you can't do it in response to a sweeper. That's a pity. So it's really just good for like protecting your stuff from targeted removal. I really quite like that. Although that 3-drop slot is already, like, because I've been playing so much with various zombie decks, I know that I'm already struggling for space. And the Puppet Stitcher isn't legendary, so you can have a full play set of him in the field. Or is he legendary? He is legendary, but you can have, its front side and its back side on the board at the same time. So I usually run like 3 or 4 of the Puppet Stitcher, maybe go down to 2 and have 2 of each. Anyway, enough about Geralf, but I really, really, really like this card, and I think that's something that the zombie deck needed. It's going to definitely make it stronger, and I can't wait to test it. Next up, this is one of Dual Face cards. I really like this one, actually. It's probably not that good. I spoiled it for myself on a Facebook group this afternoon. I have been trying not to look at any of the spoilers until I do these videos, so that we're kind of like doing it together for the first time. But at the beginning of your combat on your turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And then if that creature has a toughness 6 or greater, you transform Dormant Grove, and it becomes the Gnarled Grove Strider. A tree folk. There's not really a lot of tree folks. There's one that's kind of similar. It's also a transform. It's a brand new one from Midnight Hunt. You kind of like milling yourself every turn, and then once you've milled 3 creatures, it transforms into a, I think so. It's a little like mushroom looking guy. Anyway, the Gnarled Grove Strider is a 3/6 with vigilance, and it gives all your other creatures you control vigilance. I kind of really like that. It's probably absolutely rubbish, but like, it's the same thing that Luminarch Aspirant does at the beginning of combat. I think this is going to be really good in lots of decks, actually. And you know, I'm a sucker for these +1/+1 counter Selesnya decks, and it hasn't been that good in a while. But slowly it's growing. There's, you know, you could play, let's say, Code Spell Cleric and another couple of good 1-drops like Paladin class or something. Then you play Luminarch Aspirant, you play Sparring Regimen, you play this thing. That's a lot of +1/+1 counters really quickly. And then when everybody gets vigilance, and then there's that new card from the other day. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have base power and toughness 4/4, have flying, and are angels in addition to. Just then right at the end, you just drop that thing and swing in. That could be pretty sweet. I hope it becomes a force in the format, because it's the kind of deck I like to play. It's probably a piece of rubbish. Next up, another dual faced. I like that they've put them, you know, split like this for me. I don't have to click into it. It's Kindly Ancestor. Okay, so it's one of these new disturbed cards that comes back as an aura. Can't wait to play with these. This one looks really cool. It's a 2/3 for 3 with lifelink. And it's got a really low disturb cost of 2, 1 colorless and a white. And it comes back as Ancestor's Embrace. And you enchant a creature, and enchanted creature has lifelink. So you give, okay, that's pretty cool. I really like that. Some point later in the game, you know, you block with it in the early game, and it's good enough blocker, and you gain a bit of life. And then when it dies, you can cast it for its disturb cost and put it onto a remaining creature that's like bigger, and start gaining life that way through the aura. That's really good, I think, in that you know, in the up and coming Spirit Disturb deck, which I can't wait to build. Probably like a 2 of Misa Likey. Surprised this one only got a common. I would have expected this might have gotten an uncommon. Maybe if it cost 2 instead of 3. Because 3 in white is, as we know, very contested. But not if it ends up in that Azorius deck. It's a little bit, maybe a 2 of. Next up, Biolume Egg and Biolume Serpent. Okay, so we saw this in Maro's blog post again. There's a serpent. Talking about yesterday's zombie guy, Bruno Stormkirk. There's a serpent. Interesting. When it enters the battlefield, you scry 2. So then that's pretty cool. And it's a 0/4 with Defender. When you sacrifice, so it's kind of similar to the other egg. It's also got a small, you know, the dragon egg that we just got. That's also got 4 toughness. This is just uncommon, so it's got to be a little worse. But it's got an ETB trigger, scry 2, which isn't bad. And then when you sacrifice Biolume Egg, return it to the battlefield, transformed under its control at the beginning of the next end step. So you need to also have a sacrifice, you know, outlet. Either, you know, Village Rites or Deadly Dispute, or, you know, creature. There's plenty of creatures that you can just sacrifice it to, like an Immerstrom Predator, for example. Not that you would play them together in the same deck, but you get my point. So you need to be able to sacrifice it and then return it to the battlefield as the Biolume Serpent 4/4. You can sacrifice 2 islands and it can't be blocked this turn. Wow. I don't know if I would be sacrificing my 2 islands. Maybe if it was like game ending stuff. You know, you sequence it like play this, then your opponent has his turn. On their end step, you have a blocker during their attack step. That's not bad. And then on their end step, you sacrifice it to a deadly dispute. For example, you get 2 cards, a treasure, and it comes back as the serpent. And then you swing in for 4 without sacrificing any islands. That's pretty nice. It'll be interesting to see. Next up, Investigator's Journal. 2 mana for an artifact clue. Investigator's Journal enters the battlefield with a number of suspect counters on it equal to the greatest numbers of creatures a player controls. Against like an aggro deck, some kind of control deck artifact, kind of maybe a little bit something like Maze Mind Tome, turn 2. But you can also play it like later in the game. So if they've got a huge board, you play this thing, it comes into play with number of suspect counters on equal to. Could have like 5, 6 suspect counters, and then you just follow it up with like a sweeper or something, and your opponent's left with nothing. Your aggro opponent who's top decking, and you're left with the Investigator's Journal that has a lot of counters on it, and then you can start removing those counters to draw a card. You pay 2, tap, remove a suspect counter, draw a card. And eventually you can sacrifice the journal once you run out of counters, and you draw a card for the journal as well. I don't know. I think Maze Mind Tome was better. You had that little bit of life gain, but it's still pretty sweet. Still pretty sweet. Like a mono black deck would really like this. Pardon me. Just having some parched mouth. I think, yeah. Some control decks are going to like to run at least 2 or 3 of this as a way to sort of keep up the card advantage. It's definitely not as good as Maze Mind Tome, but it's similar. Ooh, here's a Japanese card. I need to click into this one. I think that's Japanese. Engulfing Tide. 2 colorless and 2 blue. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control. Return all other non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Then draw a card for each opponent with more cards in hand than you. Probably more designed for Commander, or these type formats where people play with multiple people on the table. Probably not too good in a traditional standard match. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control. Return all others, and draw a card for each opponent with more cards in hand than you. So you just draw a card and bounce everything except for the opponent's best thing and your best thing. Not too good. I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something. You let me know in the comments. Ooh, this is a good one. This is one of the ones I saw on Facebook today as well. I've been looking forward to talk about this card. Valorous Stance. 1 colorless and 1 white. An instant speed. Finally, like a modal card that isn't a dual color card. We've had a lot of them, like Rip Apart, and then there was Drown in the Lock, and there's one in blue and blue and green from Strixhaven. You know the ones I mean, that end up having 2 options like this: instant speed, cheap. This is just mono white, and it's great. I've been looking for a thing that does this for a long time, and there is a few things already that give indestructibility. I think literally 1 or 2 things in white that give indestructible. But that's all they do. This, it's either or. So in the case where you want a creature to gain indestructibility, bam, you can, save your best creature from a sweeper, or save, a creature that you have from removal. And then on the other side, if you have nothing to save, you can get rid of Goldspan Dragon, for example. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. It's like a epic card. I'm really looking forward to playing with this. I was thinking of this in conjunction with the 3-drop spirit guy that you flash in and save your guys. You have 5 mana open and you've got your board state like build up nicely in like a mono white aggro deck, and you leave 5 mana open on turn 5 and you're expecting the blood on the snow, the whatever, and you flash when your opponent casts a sweeper. You flash in the spirit, fade out all of your board, and then Valorous Stance your spirit, so it has indestructible. It doesn't die. None of your things die. You untap and swing in for that final bit of damage. That's always the problem with aggro decks. So I think like this is going to be really, really good. I can't wait to play with it. I can't wait to play a lot of these cards today. Like, I'm actually really looking forward to playing with, and I can say the same for most of what they've spoiled so far. So far the set's looking phenomenal. I'm really, really stoked. Next up, Cemetery Protector. 2 colorless, 2 white, human soldier, 3/4, mythic, first mythic of today, with flash. It's another one of these protector cards. We had another one with 4 mana with flash, something protector as well. When it enters the battlefield, exile card from a graveyard. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, if it shares a card type with the exiled card. So what I'm trying to understand here is whenever you play a land, then that's just fixed. And or cast a spell. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, if it shares a card type, does that mean the land has to share a card type with the exiled card? Or does it always trigger with the land and also when you cast a spell if it shares a type with the exiled card? That's what I still need to figure that out. I'm probably certain it's the first thing I said. Whenever you play a land, basically you would have had to have exiled a land when you flash Cemetery Protector in, which is already pretty good because you'll be playing a land most turns and making a 1/1 white human creature token every turn. Or, where I really like it, it's like you exile the opponent's instant because it's card type. So it'll look at like enchantment, sorcery, instant, land, creature, not name or anything like that. So if you exile one of his instants or one of his sorceries, and then you start casting instants and sorceries and making, little tokens like that, I think that's really good, actually. I'm not sure what deck this fits in, or if it, you could build a deck around it, but I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Misalaki. Next up, another 2 more model cards. Looks like to be the last 2 for today. So like I said, not too many cards, which is nice because I'm tired. Innocent Traveler. Creature human. At the beginning of your upkeep, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If no one does, transform Innocent Traveler. Turn 4, you bring in this guy. Creature human. But it's a vampire in disguise under the hood. I like the flavor. It's that thing where you like gotta invite them inside. Then any opponent may sacrifice a creature. Okay, so they sacrifice a creature every time to prevent this from happening. If they don't, he transforms and becomes a 3/3 flyer. And gets +2/+0 as long as an opponent controls a human. It's actually not bad, hey. It's actually not bad at all. Like a sideboard card. I'm not sure against which matchup yet, but or even just not. I mean, it's pretty cool. It just fits on the same slot as like Sorin in your vampire deck for 4 mana. And it probably just comes into play and does nothing. And even if if the opponent just kills it straight away, and then you just spend 4 mana. But on the other hand, the following turn, it's probably you're either gonna start, your opponent's gonna not want that to happen. You bring it in at like a point in the game where they are like low on health, and they have just like run out of cards, and they're just surviving with the creatures that they've got on the battlefield, and you don't have a sweeper. And you just play Innocent Traveler, and they're like, holy crap, if this thing flips and becomes the Malicious Invader, 1 or 2 turns, we're dead. So we need to start sacrificing stuff. They're panicking, and they're still trying to like top deck something, draw a card, or to remove your Innocent Traveler. And so they remove, one of their creatures, and it stays the Innocent Traveler. But you've now gotten rid of one of their creatures. Following turn, same thing. They're like just top decking lands. They remove another one. They're gonna give it another try. They can still maybe block with one more creature left on the board. Next thing, maybe they top deck, something useless again, another creature. You get what I'm saying. You keep them very much under pressure, because then at some point, if they don't have anything to sacrifice to them, boom, turns into the Malicious Invader, and you start getting in for damage 3/3. It'll be the kind of thing where most people will be like incentivized to just sort of, okay, don't sacrifice anything, don't lose any of my creatures, and I have to have removal. But in the right situation, that can be a really, really, really good card. I like that. I like that a lot. Sorry, I'm just talking a lot about this Innocent Traveler, but it surprised me. I might be wrong, but I think it's pretty good. Next up, we have Diablos Freneticos. So is this 2 different cards? Yes, it is. Okay, thought it was the same card. Sorry. Never mind. Next up, we have Rending Flame. 3 mana instant. 2 colorless and a red. Rending Flame deals 5 damage. Yes! Oh my goodness, finally. A new Soul Seer. I've been waiting for a 3 mana instant that deals 5 damage for a while. We've been needing this card. Like, there's not much that has 5 toughness right now in the format, but still. I'm happy that we have access to this. 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that permanent is a spirit, Rending Flame deals also 2 damage to that permanent's controller. That's also pretty cool. I guess it's more for like limited against the spirit deck, or like, if spirit decks is actually a decent deck that is a force in the format, then I guess you can definitely have this in the sideboard. 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker is sweet. We've been missing that. It's not as good as Soul Seer, where it removed indestructibility as well, but isn't that much with indestructible. It's really just Toski right now. So, although there is that new spirit, the 2-drop from yesterday. Where is it? This thing. When it gets, but it needs to get like 10 +1/+1 counters, then it gains indestructible. This is gonna be annoying, and this thing, oh my goodness, yesterday was also crazy. But we've arrived at the last card, Diablos Freneticos. Let's get the English. So it's 5 mana for a devil. Another devil. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Meh. Nothing special. Just probably more for limited. Could be really good in limited, actually, but nothing special. But there are starting to be a lot of devils. So there's like a little bit of a devil tribal thing happening. And there's the burn down the house that makes the devils. And we have Zuriel that, makes devils. And there were 2 or 3 devils printed in Midnight Hunt, so now maybe there's a couple more devils coming. Maybe Devil Tribal will be a thing. I kind of like that idea. Anyway, that's it for today. That is all the spoilers we have for October 30th. They'll probably bring out a couple more tomorrow, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I will, of course, do a little bit of a Halloween vibe, and hopefully they'll as well, because it is, Halloween set, and they'll release a lot of cool cards tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.